What is up, Internet? It's your boy Tenku, and today we're gonna be doing another manga that should be turned into anime, which is some of my favorite stuff to do. The series that we got going on, it's my favorite thing to do, so I'm really juiced about this one. But before we get started, don't forget to sub to the channel, like those videos, hit me up on the Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram with your ideas. And with all that said, guys, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so today we're going to be covering a web novel that actually was good enough to get turned into a manga, and then since it's a manga, I think it should be a manga that gets its own anime. And the manga we're talking about is, and I really hate you guys for always doing this to me, but Maou ni Natta no de Dungeon Tsukutte Jingai Musume to Honobono Suru. I think I got that pretty close, but basically it translates to I became the demon lord, so I created a dungeon to spend a heartwarming time there with non-human girls. It's a mouthful. It's a mouthful, but it's a very endearing manga. I like it a lot. I do like the slice life, but it mixes it in with like an adventure dungeon type stuff, so that's why I really like it. We have our main character, Yuki. He was a Japanese male, of course. He gets killed or dies, and he gets reincarnated to a demon lord who's in charge of this dungeon. And so when he wakes up and he's in this dungeon, he finds out that he has to expand the dungeon and set up traps and monsters inside the dungeon to make sure heroes can't come and conquer the dungeon, because if they do, he dies. The dungeon itself has like a core, an orb, and if that gets destroyed, the dungeon gets cleared and he dies because his life force is attached to this orb. He's pretty OP, of course, because he's a demon lord. He's the boss of the dungeon. But in order for him to expand it and to add rooms and to add traps and to add monsters and everything like that, he has points, basically like currency. And in order for him to gain more points to buy stuff, he has to get people to come into the dungeon and not beat it, or he has to kill monsters to grind out XP, stuff like that. And then he uses the points to buy stuff for the dungeon. Now, since he's a Japanese male, he can summon things from his memory or his world, so he can get modern day stuff to kind of help protect the dungeon or do the things. And so that's kind of how it goes. The first time he steps outside of his dungeon, he runs into Heustess, who is an elder dragon. And it's pretty funny because she's like this massive, big old dragon, and he's like, "Oh great, I'm dead. The first thing I run into here is an elder dragon that everybody in this world fears." And so Heustess is talking to him. He's like, "Hey, don't eat me. How about this? I'll give you something that you've never had before if you don't kill me, and we become friends." And so the dragon agrees, and he creates a chocolate bar, because it's a different world. They've never had things like chocolate bars, donuts, things like that. And the dragon's, "Oh, this is delicious," because the dragon likes sweets, because he could smell the honey on her. And she agrees to be his friend and turns into a little tiny dragon lolly waifu, basically. When she's in her dragon form, she's huge, ferocious, mean, but then she transforms into a little other thing, and she agrees if he keeps giving her sweets that she won't destroy him, and she'll even protect the dungeon. Because the dungeon's in her territory, I guess, or just outside her territory. And so that's the deal that gets struck. And he's smart. He doesn't add her to the dungeon as like a monster or anything like that, so she counts as an intruder. So as long as she's in his dungeon, he just keeps accumulating points, so he can expand his dungeon, keep adding to it, trying to, like, anything he can imagine to put into this dungeon. Pretty cool. Then that's when we run into Irina. Irina is a tiny vampire girl child, and in this world, monster girls exist, other races exist, but the humans are kind of jerks, and they kidnap the children and kill the parents and sell the children off as slaves, basically. Well, she was an escaped slave. She runs into him. He decides to take her in to help protect her, and so it's about him living life with these two monster girls. There's some more get added to the roster, of course, but just for this purposes, the explanation, the core there. And Irina's a vampire, of course, so he lets her drink his blood. And like later on, Luficius like tells him straight up, hey, you know that you're technically married to me and Irina now, so you're a cheater. And he's like, what? Because Luficius is super funny. She was always giving him a hard time. And she's like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, you let her drink your blood, right? He's like, yeah, that's like a marriage ceremony to vampires in this world, so, and he's like, why didn't you tell me before that? Because he sees Irina as like a daughter, because he takes care of her, and he wants to make sure he gives her good things, and always treats her well, and gives her, always making points to create fancy clothes. The last character I want to talk about is Flufferer. Flufferer is actually a Finrer. And so basically what happens is Yuki's luck is crap. And there's a gotcha game in his built-in program for his dungeon. And so he's like summoning a bunch of crap and it's all garbage, none of it's coming. And so he lets Irina press the button once, and she presses the button and it summons a Fenrir, a pup, who's like, the legendary, wolf god in this world and things like that. And so while she's playing with him and stuff like that, she names him Fluffy. And he feels bad because we're talking about Fenrir here. He's like the god among the beasts and stuff. So he renames him Flufferer to kind of ease the pain, because he feels like he looks at Fenrir and he's like, oh man, hey, but the little girl named you, man, I'm sorry, and they become best friends, and it's about all that stuff. A lot of interesting stuff happens because I think it's, all slice of life. It's about him building his dungeon, but some bad stuff does happen, and there's parts where he has to fight, and then you see like his distaste for humans in this world, especially some deals are struck, deals are broken, and he's pretty OP because he's a demon lord, but it's interesting how things go down. Like, it goes from lighthearted funny to like very serious and like intense, and then back to lighthearted and funny, and so the flow of it's really good because it's not just out of nowhere it happens and then the bad stuff happens and then it goes back to good stuff. The ebbs and flows are really good in this manga, and so I think it'd be a hilarious anime, of course, because you got your lolly waifus, who doesn't, and then of course Yuki, who was once human, now a demon lord, who's kind of like, trying to keep that balance of like, keep his humanity even though he is a demon lord. And the monsters, he gets like a pet slime he summons, and instead of making it be a monster, he makes it his pet for Irina, because Irina's like, oh, it's cute, and then how he expands his domain, his dungeon, and what he builds in there. It's really good, it's really interesting. If you guys want to read it, if you read manga, I would definitely check it out. It's kind of hard to find, but I'm sure if you're pretty savvy with the old Google, you can find it. And with all that said, guys, tell me what you think. Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think it's not worth making it an anime, even though I do? Let me know in the comments down below, on the Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And like always, guys, remember, if you can't trust a random fat guy you met on the internet, then who can you trust? And everybody have an awesome, awesome day.